Thank you guys so much for joining our tour today. My name is Ellie. I'm the supervisor here at the Parrot Garden, and this is my friend Captain. Before we talk about some of our individual parrots, we're going to talk about the reason why parrots end up here at the sanctuary. We have anywhere between 140 to 150 parrots that come to us from all walks of life, but the majority of them are going to be owner surrenders. There's three big reasons that parrots end up being surrendered. Would anyone like to take a guess on any of them?
They live so long.
They live so long, yes. Does anyone know how long a parrot can live? 80 to 100 years. So the bigger the parrot, the longer they're going to live, with the macaws like Captain and the cockatoos having that human-like lifespan. But the oldest living parrot ever recorded being 120 years old. So even if we get a baby bird when we're a baby, that parrot can still outlive you. But even your smaller little ones, like the budgies and the cockatiels, the ones you see most commonly in your pet stores, can have a lifespan of 10 to 30 years. And as our understanding of proper husbandry continues to increase, those lifespans just keep going up. So when you get a macaw or a budgie or anything in between there, it's going to be a lifelong commitment, and it's pretty hard to plan for your whole life. We usually can maybe say where we're gonna be in a year, but sometimes life happens. Maybe we get in a car accident. Maybe our mother-in-law breaks her hip and we have to go and help her out. Maybe we lose our job and we're not able to no longer be able to financially support the parrots. There's a lot of things that can happen to us that can have a direct impact on the birds. And if you do have your parrot for as long as possible, and you're 90 years old and your parrot's 70 and they have another 10, 20 years left, if their kids or grandkids or great-grandkids don't want to take the bird on, then they end up with us. Does anyone want to guess on the second reason?
Too hard to handle.
Yes, so that's going to be their intelligence and the fact that they're wild animals. So, does anyone know the difference between a domesticated species and a not domesticated species? Does anyone know what can name a domesticated species?
A dog.
A dog, yes. So dogs and cats and horses and a lot of our other companion animals, humans have bred for a really, really long time, for thousands of years, to get certain behaviors and traits to the point where they are now completely separate from their wild counterparts. We all know if we have a pet Yorkie, is it a wolf? No, there's a lot of differences between a wolf behavior and what they need and their diet than what our little Yorkie or little companion animals are. With Captain, his relatives that live out in the Bahamas and Mexico and Latin America are going to be the exact same. In fact, his parents were most likely caught from the wild and brought here. We do know that Captain was born in captivity because of his leg band, but because these guys only became popular in the 60s and 70s, these guys we know are only going to be maybe 2 to 3 generations removed. So they have all those wild instincts. If we ever got a pet tiger, would we be surprised if that tiger destroyed our home and maybe ate our dog? No, we'd be like, oh darn, that's a tiger being a tiger. If I tell you that you have a macaw in your household and he's screaming loud enough for your whole neighbor to hear and chewing on your floorboards, would it be right to be mad at them for it? No, because that's what they would do out in the wild. In the wild, these guys would live very, very, very fun social lives where they would be chewing on tree bark, foraging on the ground, and just having fun bothering other animals. There's lots and lots of records of these guys harassing other animals. If you ever go down to Australia where there's a whole bunch of cockatoos that live down there, they're known to pull on your dog's tail and ruin your garden bed and destroy your house just for fun. They don't get anything out of it. They just think it's a good time. And so that same thing's going to happen in your house. And that is definitely not for everyone. And with an intelligence of a 3 to 5-year-old, that's as smart as a toddler is. Has anyone ever been around a toddler who's bored? Yeah, is it a good time? No, it's not usually. Either they say, Mom, I'm bored, and Mom, what should I do? Or you realize it's been really quiet and we haven't seen them for 30 minutes and we might start getting really nervous. And next thing we know, they have our lipstick all over their face. Captain's gonna do the exact same thing. If Captain doesn't have enough things to do and play with and enough socialization and enrichment, he's gonna go find his own fun. And that means anything in your house is going to be the most fun. Captain here has a bite pressure of about 300 pounds per square inch starting, which is a harder bite than, say, a German Shepherd, which has the hardest bite for dogs. With some parrots having a bite pressure of 900 pounds per square inch. So when they decide your PlayStation or your favorite plushie or your grandmother's vintage blanket that she made is now going to be a great toy, there's really nothing that you can do about it. He's letting me know that. I'm kind of letting him train me right now. I'm not really training him. He's being a good boy for it. And then the third reason is going to be those loud vocalizations. So parrots out in the wild live in a really dense tropical forest for the most part. And when there's a lot of trees in between you and your friends, you usually have to get pretty loud for them to hear you. So me and you speak at about 60 to 70 decibels, with the police siren being about 120, and Captain here gets to about 125, with the loudest parrots getting to 140 decibels. We start hearing damage at 90. So when we have any pet bird, either it be a little conure, cockatiel, macaw, Amazon, or cockatoos, we usually are going to start getting hearing damage, and it can be really hard to find a place to live. Usually our neighbors don't like it, and it really makes it impossible to live in apartments or condos or any shared living space. And there's really no such thing as only one person having a pet bird in the house. If your 18-year-old kid is the one who really wants a bird, it's going to be the whole family impacted by this said bird. So with these three things, you're kind of getting a terrible two-toddler that will live 80 plus years with a voice loud enough to damage your hearing and a beak hard enough to destroy your home. This is not most people's ideal animal, and that is okay. It's my job here to convince you why you don't want a pet bird. And if you listen to everything I say and you say, Mom, I really want a bird still, I'd love to find you a right fit. But otherwise, I'd love to put you in the direction of Dogtown and Cat World and wild friends with pigeons that are silent or even bunny. So whatever might be a better fit for you and your household. Do we have any questions about anything that I've talked about before we move on? No? We're good? Cool. So we're going to talk about Captain first before I go put him in. So Captain here is a blue and gold macaw. These guys are the standard parrot that most people think of. You know, your Margaritaville, your little pirate bird. And these guys were one of the first ones to become really, really popular back in the 60s and 70s. And they are now going to be one of the most commonly found in rescues for this reason. You can always tell if it's a macaw because they have these really, really long tails. They have the longest tails out of all the parrots, and they have a face mask, meaning they don't have any feathers around their eyes and nose. But you might notice some black patterns around their eyes, and this is actually super cool because this is like a fingerprint. It is unique and individual to each parrot, so it's a really good way to start learning how to tell them apart, right, Captain? Yeah. So Captain here is going to be an omnivore out in the wild. Do we know what omnivore means? Yes? No? Maybe? Yeah, what does it mean? Yes, so they'll eat some animal protein, and they will eat a lot of veggies and fruits and barks and all that good stuff. Now, in captivity, parrots don't really need the same amount of protein that they do out in the wild. They're not exercising as much. So here in captivity, they're pretty much just herbivores, meaning they only are going to eat the veggies and the fruit and the plants and all that good stuff, right? Or the pumpkin seeds, which is what he's eating. So parrots have evolved to have a hook bill. That's another way that they're described in the scientific community. And they use these beaks to open up nuts. They love nuts, and they're really, really good at it. And it's why they have such a hard bite pressure. Captain here out in the wild would eat a Brazilian nut. Have any of you guys ever seen a Brazilian nut before? Yeah, have we ever opened one before? That's really hard. It usually takes me like a good 6 hits with a hammer. Captain here can do it in about 3 seconds with this beak. And if you look at Captain, you can actually see that he's peeling out the skin of this pumpkin seed. And that's a really important part of their diet. And their tongue actually has a bone in it. And he's using his tongue right now to push the skin off of that pumpkin seed and throw it to the ground. And so if you give them a grape or a pepper or anything with the skin, they're actually going to peel it off. Hi, are we noticing we're actually with people now? Yeah, and we're not focusing on the treats too much, are we? So Captain here, being bred in captivity, is very human oriented. That means he sees humans as pack members. If we ever got someone who applied for a companion parrot, Captain might be a really good option for them. He doesn't really see other birds as his friends and would be really, really drawn to be with people. Captain here has been socialized very well, where he can like multiple people at the same time. A lot of times when I ask people if they've ever been around birds, usually say, oh, I have an aunt who has a mean bird who attacks everyone that goes into the house and only likes her. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. We know if we get a baby dog, if we get a puppy, we have to train it, right? If we don't train a dog to go potty outside, where's it gonna go potty? In the house. If you don't train a dog to meet your friends, will it like your friends when it's older? Maybe not. We have to do a lot of things to set our animals up for success in a home, meaning introducing them to new environments and new people and new sounds. And if we don't do that, we can have a really, really fearful animal. And this is a really big problem we have with parrots. With the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old, they're very smart, but if they don't have the proper training, they can become really, really almost antisocial and have a lot of separation problems and really territorial of the only person they have in their life. So while there's a stereotype that parrots are one-person animals, this isn't really true. It's because they haven't really been properly trained and worked with to be set up for success in the future. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Captain here would do really well in a home that had lots of active members who loved hanging out with him and would also understand Captain's need. A lot of people want a pet bird because they see really cute videos of them cuddling with them and giving them head scratches. And while some parrots do like being touched, Captain's not one of them. Captain here has a really big social battery, but an even bigger space bubble. He loves to say hi and have everyone sing and dance with him and play peekaboo with him, but he's not super comfortable with people getting super close into his space and trying to pet him. Even his favorite caregivers in the whole world, he still doesn't really want us to pet him like that. That's not his love language. And every bird that we're going to meet is going to be slightly different in this, and that's why it's really important when we have adopters come to visit the parrots. We're able to work with them all day to introduce them to the individual birds, make sure it's the best fit for the parrot and for the adopter. Do you guys have any questions about Captain? I'm gonna go put him back in his cage. Yeah.
Tell me, do they molt, or does he just not grow feathers in areas? Or?
Yeah, so about 60 to 70% of parrots in captivity show some sort of self-mutilating behavior because of stress. So if anyone here bites their fingernails when they're stressed, it's the same behavior. So some parrots pick their feathers, and some chew them, and some might even pick their skin. Hello. So it's different for each bird, and it's really just a sign of captivity. There could be a lot of different factors. Like a really easy one is maybe they're just sick. So if we take them to a vet and we fix the problem, they may stop plucking. Or it could be they don't have enough toys, they're not being socialized enough, they have a bad diet, they don't have proper sleep, they're hormonal. There could be a lot of different things, and it's never usually just one. So, and some of the happiest birds I've ever met are ones who are almost completely naked, and we will see some of our guys who are pretty much completely naked, like Rio right there. She has a little bit of a naked chest. But yeah, great question. Yeah. So I'm gonna go put him back super quick. I will meet you guys right back out here with Bo and Rio, but you're more than welcome to come say hi really quick to the other birds, and we'll continue with our tour. Our bonded pair of macaws. There's about 364 species of parrot in the world, and then those are broken up into bigger families, but there aren't different breeds. They are all individual species. So Bo is going to be our scarlet macaw, the one that's scarlet, and Rio's the blue and gold macaw. And these guys are a bonded pair. Parrots are a monogamous species, that meaning that when they find someone they really, really, really like, they're going to be with them pretty much the whole rest of their life. So when we get bonded pairs like Bo and Rio in, it is required for them to be adopted together. And bonded pairs can be a really great option for people who love parrots, but maybe don't have the full-time commitment that an individual bird like Captain does. If you are Captain's only social contact, that means you maybe go to work and then you come home and you are with your bird the whole rest of the day. These guys in the wild not only would have mates, but they would have best friends, they'd have siblings, they'd have parrots they'd hang out with, and even within the flock, there might be even birds that they don't particularly care for. They're like, I'll make sure you don't get eaten by a predator, but please don't sleep by me. You have to go on the other side of the tree. And so bonded pairs can really be a great fit for people who maybe still enjoy to travel, or you're in a book club, or you do sports, or you're maybe not able to provide that full-time commitment that a single parrot needs. But you do get certain behaviors from bonded pairs that are going to be a little different than the singles. These guys are always going to prefer each other, and you will need to learn how to work with them together and both separately. And just like humans, even if we love our husbands or our wives, that doesn't mean we don't like a little time apart. Even Bo and Rio can get a little irritated with each other if they're together all the time. And so we do have to provide different types of enrichment for them, that they can get their mental and physical enrichment separate. And then when they come back together, they're like, oh my God, I love you. You would never annoy me. Until another 3 months goes by, and then they're like, oh, this is too much for me. Bo and Rio, being a bonded pair, would also need a much bigger enclosure than a single bird. They need to have enough space and resources that they wouldn't fight over anything. And that can make it a little hard to adopt these guys out. A lot of people come to us wanting a parrot that will be super social with them, and also maybe be able to have a smaller space. And so it can be a little harder to definitely adopt bonded pairs out. And so while they're the right fit for a lot of people, it can take a little bit of education to find that good fit, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about parrots and the proper care and the behaviors you get from singles and bonded. Do we have any questions about Bo and Rio before we go say hi to some of our cockatoos? No? Cool. Okay. We're going to come say hi to Cyrano. So parrots are really popular pets for two big reasons. One, they're beautiful. People love all the different types of colors they come in. And second, their ability to mimic. All parrot species, everything from your budgies up to your cockatoos, can learn to mimic. Some may prefer whistling, some may prefer doing songs or noises in your household, or even speech. Cyrano here loves learning other animals' languages. So everything Cyrano says, he has picked up from an individual parrot here that he's looked by. We've never heard him say anything original. He also came to us from a roadside zoo where there's a lot of different animal species. So when we first heard him, it sounded like we had kookaburras. It sounded like we had howler monkeys. He made it sound like we had a cow. That was a weird one. We weren't quite sure where that one came from. And then once he started to live here, he has learned the vocalizations of the ravens. And he is so good at it. The ravens that live here will come down, like kind of on the sidewalk, and will just sit and look at him, being like, you are saying what we say, but you do not look like us. And they're a little confused. And he's now even picked up on how they move. He will hop on the ground just like them. So we never can predict what a parrot will learn to vocalize, and we can't make them do anything they don't want to do. So Cyrano is one that we do train some of these things on cue, not because it's cute, but because it's a really good way to get them enrichment. Training is a really, really, really powerful form to build a relationship with an animal, while also giving them things to think about and giving them complexities within their life. He's also a little worked up right now, so we may not stay too long with him because I don't really want to reinforce this pacing behavior too much. So we might say goodbye to Cyrano and go talk about Lollipop really quick. And if he calms down at the end, you'll be able to come back and say hi to him. But again, any attention is going to be reinforcement for these guys, so we have to be really careful that we only reinforce their desired behavior that will set them up for success in captivity. So we'll say hi to Lollipop, who's another cockatoo. So cockatoos are one of the most popular companion birds, but they are the #1 most surrendered parrot within the United States. These guys There's lots of really cute videos of them online singing and dancing and playing peekaboo and doing everything that Lollipop is doing. But what people don't realize is, one, Lollipop doesn't stop. There's not a nap time for these guys. They're ready to go all the time. They're also just really chaotic. They're one of the most chaotic bird species we've ever met, and they are the loudest. These guys are going to be the ones that hit 130 to 140 decibels, and they need a lot of physical and mental enrichment. I really encourage people to kind of think of these guys kind of like the huskies of the parrot world, okay? There might be some individual differences, but if you were to have a parrot, it's a whole other ballgame. And say if you're gonna live in an apartment with a husky, it's doable, but are you ready to run 5 miles in the morning and in the afternoon to make sure they're not gonna burn that energy off in your home? Because you have to think about the individual bird and the species and what would be the best for them and what would be the best fit for you. So Lollipop is showing off his crest feather, and this is how we can always tell if they're cockatoos or not. Cockatoos can come in a couple different sizes and colors, everything from the big black palms to the smaller little cockatiels that you see. Those are part of the cockatoo family, and everything in between there. You can have pink ones and red and black ones and pink and orange ones and all white ones. But the thing that they all have in common is that they're going to be from the Australia, Oceania area, as well as having this crest feather. So his crest feather is the way he shows excitement. It can be negative or positive excitement, and that's when we have to go off the rest of the body language to decide what he's trying to tell us. And this is what gets really hard. We all know that if a dog growls at us, should we pet that dog? No. If a cat hisses at us, should we pet that cat? No. If I say, Lollipop's head feather's up and his cheek feathers are going to be up as well, and he has a foot up, should we pet him? No, actually it would be probably okay. But if his head crest was up and all of his cheek feathers are down and he's holding his perch really stiff, these are all pretty subtle body languages and really subtle differences that can flip right away. And so if you're not able to do a lot of research and very quickly pick up on these subtle cues, that's when people start getting bit. Not because these guys are aggressive animals, but to them, they're saying really obvious signs where they're like, I'm clearly saying, hey, I need you to back up right now. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to step up. But because it is so subtle, a lot of people can misread that and misjudge that. And if a parrot learns that, the only way a human is going to listen to what I'm saying is by me biting them. And this is what happens with a lot of animals. In the same way, this dog is barking a lot. It's usually because the barking means to back up, and people do. It's a behavior that works with them. And that's when we get parrots in that have a really bad compulsive either screaming or biting behavior. And Lollipop had both of those when he came to us, but he's made a lot of progress. When I came here 5 years ago, we wouldn't even be able to all just sit here looking at Lollipop before he would get too overstimulated. It would be too exciting and he wouldn't know what to do with his feelings. And that usually comes out in a loud scream. And if there wouldn't be a barrier between us, or if I was holding him, that also meant that sometimes he would bite him. Again, he wasn't being aggressive, but he had so many big feelings and he didn't know what to do with them and how to redirect them that that was the only way he felt like it was appropriate. Like, have you ever been with a toddler who's having a great time and then all of a sudden really not having a great time and they're throwing a temper tantrum? Temper tantrum. The exact same thing. Unlike toddlers, though, they can't really speak English, right, Lollipop? Well, okay, they can. Right? They do. They do. So Lollipop is showing us a lot of repetitive behaviors that's got him lots of attention in the past. He's actually doing his little dance right now. He knows the song Lollipop, the Lollipop, Lollipop, oh. Yeah, I'm a terrible singer, sorry. And he will sit and sing it with you. And so when we get these parrots showing these weird, quirky behaviors, a lot of times it's what got them attention in their previous home. And so when we start working with these guys, it's always a lot of fun because we never know what we're going to get. It's something new every single day. And if you're ever interested in adopting one, it can add a lot of fun and spice to your life if you like a challenge every single day. Right, Lollipop? Yeah, what a good bird. Do you guys have any questions about Lollipop before we move on to say hi to our Amazons? And that will be about the end of our tour.
So this isn't showing stress. What he's doing now is just, I want attention.
Versus that one. So it depends a lot on the individual bird. But no, he's doing just fine. He loves tour. This is like his favorite tour. They are little superstars. They just want to
Okay.
show off and have attention and just be told hello and just be told they're the most amazing bird in the whole world. Now sometimes you do need to be careful with that if we're starting to get too excited, they would get even more excited, and that's when we get overstimulated. So we do also want to reinforce calm behaviors as well. But Lollipop loves tour so much that we just kind of let him do his thing.